Hello, and thank you for joining our session today. My name is Ian Peacock. I'm Senior Manager of Product Marketing in the Adobe Document Cloud division. For visually impaired attendees, I'm standing here in a very white, open home office in my home in San Jose, California. I'm wearing a black top, I have short dark hair, and I wear glasses and identify as a white male. The session is all about Adobe's point of view on how we can scale document workflows using Adobe Document Cloud, coupled with Microsoft's Power Platform. This is a live, interactive Ask the Expert session, so I encourage you to pose your questions to us in the Q&A panel of the team session. Now, without further ado, I want to introduce our panel. Now, we've got a stellar group of panelists here, experts from across Adobe's product management and product marketing teams. I'm going to ask them all to introduce themselves individually in a moment, and also Weston Lander, who I appreciate joining us from Microsoft's Teams marketing group to also help provide the Microsoft point of view. So I'm going to start with Maria, if you could introduce yourself and then pass around the team.
Sure. Good afternoon, at least here in Boston. My name is Maria Dakru. My pronouns are she and her. I lead a team of expert solution consultants from the Adobe Document Cloud. For the visually impaired, I am a brown lady. I'm wearing big black glasses and I have bigger blonde hair, and I'm sitting in a sort of a funny wood paneled room. It's a pleasure to talk to you today.
Alicia.
Hi, everyone. My name is Alicia Dvorak, and I am a Mexican and white female. I have long brown hair, and I'm in my home office as well, which has a gray background and a houseplant, very tall houseplant that I'm surprised is still alive now, but that's what's behind me. And welcome, and thank you for joining us.
And hi, everyone. My name is Alex Gay. I lead product marketing for Acrobat for Business. I'm joining you from the Bay Area. I'm a white male, dark hair, gray shirt. I've let my stubble turn into a beard, and I'm sat in front of a brick background with some concert posters that I was able to attend to before having children.
Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us. My name is Kailash Kumar. I run product management for Adobe Sign. I identify myself as a brown male, dark hair, wearing a dark shirt, and thank you for taking the time to join us here.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ben Vandenberg. My pronoun is he, him. I'm on the technical evangelism team for our Document Cloud platform. For the visually impaired, I'm coming to you from my home office outside of Seattle. I'm wearing a blue sweater, glasses, short brown hair, and the developer community has definitely had me grow a beard. So that's my look.
And hi, everyone. My name is Weston Lander. I go by he, him pronouns. I am a senior product marketing manager at Microsoft. I focus on the integration of Teams and Power Platform, and I'm coming to you today from my home office in the Seattle area. And I think Ian asked me to kind of kick things off today with a little bit of an overview about what makes us excited about the Adobe Document Cloud, how that comes together with Power Automate and many of the other components of the Microsoft tech stack. And what I would like to share with everyone is just how truly excited I am to see the great partnership between Adobe and Microsoft on all of these initiatives. This is not the first time we've come together to do these types of webinars and discussions with the community. There's just a great partnership, and the technologies continue to meld in interesting and powerful ways for our customers that allow you to take the great products and processes that are driven out of the Adobe Document Cloud and bring that into so many of the components of the Microsoft tech stack that you use every day. This is absolutely a shining star example of when Microsoft comes together with a great partner. It really is a better together scenario. And I'd just like to thank everyone on the Adobe team for letting me join today. So Ian, back to you.
Well, thank you, Wes. We appreciate that. Ben, I want to come to you now and just like if you could provide it brought an Adobe point of view on how we think about taking all the capabilities we have in Adobe Document Cloud with PDF and with Sign, and how do we scale that using Power Automate?
Sure. So I think one of the things with especially documents is that there is definitely a need over especially the last few years to automate a lot of document processes, from whether it's the creation of your documents, whether it's routing those documents for approval and collaborating on them, and capturing signatures, and then storing them in an appropriate way. And I think a couple of the ways that I look at it is that there's the tools that you use every single day, that are your productivity tools, that Microsoft 365 and things like Acrobat become great tools that way. There's the automation tools, and also then creating apps and connected experiences. And I think this is something where both Microsoft and Adobe have really tight synergy, because it allows you to be able to, especially with things like Power Automate, our connectors in there allow you to be able to automate many of those actions, like creating those documents using things like the Adobe PDF services connector. Allows you to route those documents for approval, like with things like Teams approvals. Allows you to capture those signatures with Sign, and also then tying that into low-code applications that you can build with Power Apps really just kind of creates a seamless experience for how people are needing to work with documents, which oftentimes are usually kind of the bottleneck within workflows in a business.
Great. Just building on your comments there, I wanted to, Kailash, come to you about thinking about how we've been building integrations for Adobe Sign with both Teams and connectors into Power Automate. How you see this helping to scale those workflows?
Yeah, I think two things I want to start off with. Number one, our approach to bringing e-signature workflows to where work is happening. With Microsoft Teams, it's rapid increase in usage. It's become the hub for productivity. And so it's important for us to be there where work is happening. Number two is how we think about automation and workflows. I think I would say broadly the e-signature workflows have been very document-centric, where you start with a document, you end with a document, and then you do some workflows around it. With Power Automate and with low-code applications, there's a paradigm shift that's happening, and that's really about automation and bringing documents into those workflows. That's how we've thought about it. What that has meant for us within the product is we're doing deeper and deeper integrations and opening ourselves more and more to these platforms such as Teams and Power Automate. In the context of Teams, it is bringing more of our workflows within Teams. So being able to manage your e-signature processes within that, being able to kick off some advanced workflows, being able to do live signing. Those are the types of things that we're bringing to Microsoft Teams, and we have a very rich roadmap ahead of us as well. On Power Automate, it's very much about automation. There's a whole workflow around e-signatures, whether that be generating an agreement, whether that be collecting data, whether that be, I was just responding to the QR code. We publish all our events, all our APIs into Power Automate. And if you have a document that you want to create, that you then collect some data, create the agreement, you can now take that event and kick off another process to generate the QR code from it. So that's how we've thought about Power Automate. It's a great way for yourselves to extend our workflows. We won't be able to extend all the workflows in the ways that you will. And so we want to enable yourselves to take our capabilities and extend that.
So, okay, the question we had in the Q&A panel about QR code doesn't specifically visible to all the attendees yet. So perhaps you could address that specifically if you would.
Absolutely. So the question is, we currently use Microsoft Forms to fill out a Word doc via Automate for signature. And then I think there's a generation of a QR code to access that form. Could we do that within Adobe? And the answer is with Power Automate, you could absolutely do that, where once you generate the agreement, you would get the URL for the agreement, and then you can use another application in JavaScript to just generate the QR code with that. So it's fairly straightforward to do that. It's not a native feature within Adobe Sign where we give you the QR code, but it's a very, very easy, light way to generate it with Power Automate and Sign.
There are also some connectors inside of Power Automate that do allow for generation of QR codes, and I actually think that that's one of the cool benefits of Power Automate and Power Platform in general, is that it really is kind of like Lego blocks for, like, is that something that's a feature inside of Adobe Sign? Yes, maybe not, but you can connect the dots between different things to establish the solution that you need for your business, and connect those different connectors together, rather than it being something that you might be waiting for a specific feature from a specific vendor. You can connect the dots between the different tools that you need to get done and automate that process.
To build on that, Ben, and KK as well. So often, a lot of our customers using QR codes at the beginning of their process, right? So you want to present someone with a form to fill. Hey, have a QR code, you can point your phone at it, fill it out, and kick off your process from that. But then on top of that, we see internally and externally different ways that we're using Power Automate and these Adobe document processes together. One way is just to flex. So the people on my team, they are a bunch of geeks. They love it. They build crazy stuff. They just build more and more and more and more. And that's super fun. But then the other side of this is when we're talking to customers and we're looking at where they are and where they want to be, some people are still on paper, right? So we're trying to help people to digitize paper processes. And then a lot of people have really suboptimal digital processes already. You're sending around content by email, it's ungoverned, there are different things. Power Automate and Adobe products together allow you to create governed processes that are a great experience for all your constituencies, whether that's your employees or your customers, or you know, some hybrid version of that. That's where we want to live, and that's where we can provide, you know, really feel good value.
And Mario, as you mentioned governance there, that really hit on a question that we've been submitted, which is speaking about what is available as far as data governance and compliance when shifting workflows between Microsoft 365 and the Adobe Document Cloud.
Should that come back to me, or I can talk about it a bit, but I don't want to step where else it should go. So I can start with it, right? So typically we see, particularly when we're thinking about applying a signature to a document, this is going to be a highly governed process. We want to make sure we have the right data, we know who's interacting with that content, where it's been, what the provenance of the document is, and we tend to think of it as the 3 I's, identity, integrity, and intent, so that we're showing, and that's just the signature portion of it. But then we can stretch this out as well. What data is going into the construction of that document when we're using document generation, and we're attaching those processes together using Power Automate. Then when we think about at the end of this process, we have this signed artifact and a bunch of data. What are you going to do with it? Retention policy. And this is somewhere where we are really good friends with Power Automate. And the people on my team, this is a gimme that we show everybody every time. Put your signed document in the right place with the metadata so you can get it later. This is, you don't even have to think about it twice. It's an absolute gimme.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought up document generation, Mara. So I think that one of the things that Ian had brought up was what's available. And I think everybody should know that we do have a large number of APIs that we've made connectors for to supplement the functionality within Power Automate that Adobe provides. So we have two connectors right now. One you mentioned, Adobe Sign, of course, for those signature workflows, and then the PDF Services API that has a multitude of functionality. We're talking about at least 15 different API services that can be connected to create documents. You mentioned document generation and the ability to merge document data, like from Dataverse or SharePoint, along with your document templates to create a very structured document and modify that in the way that you need to based on that dynamic data. But we've also brought in the functionality, or we're bringing in the functionality for PDF extraction in there. leveraging AI technology to actually understand documents too. So the ability to be flexible in creating these customized document workflows is what we're trying to put together, and we've already got available. I think the one thing for me though is just being, I think there's the flexibility and that you don't have to be a developer either. With Power Automate, having the templates that you have to create and work from, and that's one of the things that I know Adobe Sign Connector provides, as well as the PDF Services Connector provides, allows anybody with a technical curiosity to go ahead and try it out, and then leverage maybe some other resources within their company or their organization to help build out a proof of concept if they really want to make it a lot bigger. But templating is, I think, key to those technically curious people to get started quickly too.
Yeah, I want to build on that because we recently conducted some research around future of time, and it was essentially the impact that hybrid work in particular is having on employees. And we found that a third of the work week was reported as being spent on meaningless tasks. So that is manual effort such as managing files, etc. And these are exactly the points of friction that things like Power Automate can solve for. So we really try and think about, to Alicia's point, we try and think about Power Automate in two ways. There's the low-code option that for employees that have repeated tasks, Power Automate is a great way of taking some of that manual effort out of the equation and being able to manage things around documents more efficiently. But then more broadly, a more organizational lens, thinking about how Power Automate can be that orchestration engine across multiple document workflows to really start to look at optimizing large-scale business processes like managing agreements from an end-to-end perspective, as one example. So that's really the opportunity that I think we're presented now, where we can support end users on removing some of that dead time, that the meaningless tasks, so they can focus on their day-to-day, but then also helping organizations optimize their workflows from end to end.
Great, thanks, Alex. Let me take us back to one of our posted questions. And Ben, I'm going to put this one to you from Russell. I really do like creating HTML in Flow. Converting HTML to PDF is great too. However, only accepting zip makes things difficult. Can you expand on this question and answer?
I feel your pain. Good news on that front. We are actually fixing that within Power Automate, so you'll be able to pass HTML directly in there and eliminate any of the zip stuff. So that problem is going to be going away. For everybody else's reference, our Power Automate connector with taking HTML and converting it to PDF, because a lot of times people have HTML and dependencies like images and CSS that they want to bring in all together. We have people zip all those dependencies together to upload to our service to then give back a PDF. Well, we heard from our customers that they want to be able to just have a bunch of inline HTML. We heard our customers, so we've made that available as part of our API right now. And in our next release of the Power Automate connectors, we'll be adding that inside of there. Ooh, I got a yay. Awesome.
All right, I'm just checking some more of the Q&A panel. Please, attendees, do keep giving your questions coming. I want to go right back to the top. Actually, we've got a question here from Pankaj about editing PDFs. Alex, I wonder if you could hit this. It's a long question. I don't want to read out entirely, but it's essentially around being able to edit and secure documents. Would you be able to address this one?
Yeah, although I think this could be a really interesting one to try and explore the full solution that's required, because essentially my takeaway from the question is that there is a group that generates client-facing documents, but then there are business advisors that actually deliver those to the clients, and the business advisors would like to make edits to personalize those reports accordingly. And how do you protect the integrity of the document while also allowing the opportunity to personalize? So there's some really interesting things that we could look to explore around advanced document generation for this, where you can start to personalize the template specific to customer needs and have the business advisors provide input on that. So every client-facing report that you created is actually personalized for that individual client in a way that the business advisor likes. So actually taking out that editing step. I would suggest that always when you're submitting a document that has client information like this, that it is secured, so you can ensure the integrity of the data is there in its final form and securing the document appropriately. And then if that document is edited at a later point, you can actually you can know whether that's been done to make it personalized or whether the document is as was originally created. So I think that was a very long-winded way of saying there's a lot of opportunity here to look at what we could do to kind of automate this entire flow from beginning to end based on exactly what you're needing. It would be good to just double click on exactly some of the steps within there and where we pull the data from and where it gets delivered to.
Great. And we've got a question here from Anonymous about identity and credentialing. I think this applies across Power Automate and also think about usage of Sign. So I'm going to put this to our panelists. This is a situation, it sounds like it's in education, where we're using a service account to prevent process ownership. But we found when we try to connect to connect Adobe connectors to Power Automate, people require individual user accounts. And so is there a way around this friction created by needing individual user accounts? I'm going to open this up. Ben, go ahead. Thank you, sir.
And Weston might be able to validate some of this stuff, but I know for some of our customers, they run into that challenge where they're like, we create this flow and I publish this out, and then everybody has to log in when they are trying to use that. And one of the things within Power Automate is there's something called a run-only users, which allows you to be able to publish out that flow to people, but it's basically you're centrally managing the credentials for that, so they're not having to authenticate using their credentials every time that they run that flow. Weston, do you have any thoughts on that?
Yes, I believe that's the correct approach that I would recommend for handling that type of situation. As we were talking about earlier, there's always a focus on kind of that overarching governance. And I think we're continuing in the product to refine ways to allow more fidelity in the way that that these types of workflows are distributed and utilized by various parties. But yeah, long story short, I think that's the right approach for how it's built today.
Great. And we've got another question here. Alicia, I want to put this to you because I think you were speaking about DocGen earlier. Just how to create a PDF from Power Apps.
Well, I think that the easiest way is to leverage the document generation workflows that we have. And I think for me, at least, and like I said, technically curious individuals, maybe I'm not a developer, so sometimes it's a little bit more difficult for me to piece together some of the larger items, but I would definitely start with the document generation workflows that we have on the templates. And you can certainly tie those into Power Apps depending on what your workflow is that you need. But we have both signature workflow templates and without signature workflow templates. So I think it's just based on what you need for the document. But I think one of the things that is really great about our connector and the solution that we have for document generation specifically is the tagger that we provide for Microsoft Word add-in. So there's a Word add-in that allows you to actually create your document templates, and that allows you to auto tag the text, any conditional workflows that you need, adding in tables and lists and things like that, images on the fly, and then connecting that into, like I mentioned earlier, whatever data that you want to provide it. It could be JSON data. We also provide a connector capability for you to just pull data directly and import it into the Word add-in. So you can test all of that out before you get started too. But I would say that's the easiest way to implement that within not only Power Apps, but the larger Microsoft ecosystems.
And one comment also on that is, I mean, I think there's a lot of different ways that people like to create documents depending on where it's coming from. I think the Word documents is one way, and it makes it super easy for people who maybe that's their comfort zone of creating documents in Word and then having those dynamically generate the documents and become PDFs or capture signatures. For people who are maybe coming from other applications that are in HTML, for example, maybe a Power App that you have like rich text in there that's outputting HTML that you want to go into a PDF, then those connectors are also there where you can go from HTML to PDF, and then from there to Word if you need to, or other steps. Part of our whole philosophy has been giving the flexibility for anybody in where they're coming from with their documents, so that we can help facilitate that for any of the types of tools that they need for their flows.
If I can just add one piece, just to make sure that people are thinking about this as they consider where Power Automate and Power Apps could play a role in particular with Adobe solutions. Ultimately, there's an opportunity when you're looking at automation to rethink the document workflow overall. And rather than, as we've done and seen with some paper to digital transformation, it's not just a case of replacing paper documents with digital documents. You have an opportunity now to really scale efficiencies at a level that we didn't have before. So really rethinking exactly what the purpose is of communicating the document from one party to another, from one system to another, and the various stages that it goes through. Looking at that journey overall will help find increasing efficiencies across the board and leveraging some of those APIs. So I think it's a really good opportunity to take a little bit of a step back and think about what are optimizations that I would have if I could completely blow up this document workflow end-to-end journey and rethink it from my new ecosystem standpoint.
Alex, I wanted to talk about something else, but what you've just said leads into something that is so cool that we see people doing. So let's say you automatically generate that document and then use embed to post that PDF. And then you watch where people sit in that document. Do they sit on a paragraph because it doesn't work for them? You're generating analytics about it. Do they zoom past page 3? How do you iterate on this? How do you improve it? You have the analytics at your fingertips to go and constant improvement, right? That's where we live. That's what today looks like. So you post a document that is protected, you're generating those analytics, and now you have a better document when you come back. That is something that we see lots of customers doing with really good effect.
Great, that's great. Well, we only have a couple of minutes left. So we're going to hit one final question. Maria, I'll put this back to you, and perhaps Kailash, you can jump in on this as well, which is, what are the possible connections between Adobe Sign, eSignature, and Power Platform? And then how should we think about the potential?
Sure. So I can tell you how people are currently using it. One of the ways that people are currently using it, let's say you can take a document, you can have a governed workflow, so you can say which document is going to go into which flow, so who's going to act on it, who's going to fill in a form, who's going to sign it, where will it go next. That's easy peasy. But then one of the advantages of electronic signature is you can see where in the process you are. So do you want to log into the Adobe Sign web UI all the time? Maybe not. So Power Apps now, that means they can return via webhooks your current status notification to wherever you're living. So if you're sitting in Word, if you're sitting in your own application that you've built yourself, if you want to send, I send myself ridiculous Teams messages. I have too many flows going, so I'm constantly getting pinged. So what's the next thing that's going to happen? Do you want to be able to return a document into an intermediate state? If it's taking too long, do you want to do something else with it? At the end of this, what do you want to have happen with that signed document? Do you want that data to kick off another process? These are the things that we see people doing day in and day out. I would discourage you from sending yourself a million Teams messages. I have emojis in mind. They entertain me, but that's probably not your business workflow.
Okay, Ben, do you want to add on?
And one thing that I'd also just add on there, because I think something that I love about Power Platform is the different ways that allows people to interact. Like Power Virtual Agents, what we've seen as an example is people able to take Power Virtual Agents and use it as almost like a way to populate forms that then populate into it like Adobe Sign and then present that document for signature from a chatbot. And I think that's a cool way that people are interacting. I think what I've also been finding is people been doing more like departmental applications that are purpose built for their specific need. Rather than going to like 15 different applications, they have one and it's bringing in the e-signature information, it's generating their documents and pulling all that information from SharePoint or Dataverse that I think changes the way that people look at how they work and work with their documents and data on a daily basis.
Thanks, Ben. Well, we are out of time. I'm sure we could carry on this for a lot longer, but we are at the top of the hour. So, hey, I appreciate panelists. Thank you for taking the time to share your expertise. And attendees, thank you for joining us today. We appreciate you doing so. We wish you a great rest of Ignite and look forward to connecting with you again soon.